I didn't have a crew. I didn't have a budget. And, well, I didn't even have a second set of hands. But I made a feature film anyway. And now, well, I think I'm about to do it again. Which begs the question, what's your excuse? My name is Crumbine, and this is Emergency Creative. Although the channel is relatively new, I've actually been doing this whole creative thing for a little while now, both personally and professionally. There's been multiple channels, YouTube collab series, shorts, and long-form documentary-style productions, both personal and professional. In addition to all the goddamn writing. Novels, screenplays, marketing, and advertising. Again, both personally and professionally. So, when I say that Emergency Creative exists within the intersection of creative expression, creative process, and mental health, yeah, I kind of know what I'm talking about. And from all those decades of creative experience, I've learned that, well, there are two types of people in this world. Those who like to talk about being creative, and those who like to actually be creative. Like I said, I've done a lot of goddamn writing in my life. One of the things I tell people is that actual painting and illustration and hands-on crafty types of art aside, well, just write. No matter what it is you want to create, it probably tells a story, and it doesn't cost you anything to get it right on the page first. The more you write, the better you'll get, the stronger your creative work becomes. Just write. For me, my initial screenwriting phase was between 2003 and 2007. I've written tons since, professionally, on contract, feature screenplays that are still on the path to become some kind of production. But back then, I was writing these character-driven, deeply personal stories and doing my thankless best to get them seen somewhere, somehow. Hollywood, like any creative endeavor, YouTube included, well, it's a fucking lottery system based entirely on luck and who you know. And it only gets worse year after year after year. Yes, of course. Skill and talent, those things are important, but I mean, come on. Have you seen how many shitty movies get made? Luck and who you know. So, back in the day, I made a handful of pointless attempts to submit my screenplays to agencies and production companies. It was as demoralizing as you would expect, an obliquely hopeless exercise in abject futility. The tiniest glimmer of light came in 2008 when my most ambitious screenplay was recognized as a semi-finalist in a national screenwriting competition. Let me assure you, though, such recognition is completely worthless aside from bullshit accolades to add a little flavor to my personal background. Oh, you want to come up? Oh, okay. Oh, my point. You want to do this with me? You want to do this with me? My point. There we go. My point about all of those screenplays is that while the accomplishment of writing a feature-length script is noteworthy, the truth is that a screenplay is, well, it's just a starting point, not a finished product. No one wants to read a script. They want to watch the movie. In other words, I spent all that time writing screenplays that would never be realized as finished products, which, you know, sucks. Novels, on the other hand, well, they are very accessible and certainly align with my passion to tell stories. In 2009, I shifted gears and started writing what turned into my first proper novel, Don't Call Me Zombie. These were the early days of self-publishing, and with all of those screenplays just sitting there, I started down two distinct paths. The first was an ill-fated attempt to publish my screenplays as script books. It worked. Formatting held up, obviously, but again, screenplays are not accessible, and they have a very limited audience, even with professional packaging. The second path was to use a given screenplay as an outline and adapt it into a novel. This has been an ongoing back burner project for years, but has resulted primarily in my 3 Days in Central Florida trilogy. The first two books, Religiously Roasted Every Goddamn Day and Videorama, they were based on individual screenplays. The third book, Gordon Wagner Wants an Ice Cream, is completely original, but they all share a connective timeline, background, and supporting characters and themes. Kind of a coming-of-age story for your late teens, then your 20s, and finally your 30s. Maybe, just maybe, all of those screenplays weren't entirely doomed to wallow in infinite obscurity? In the summer of 2012, I was at another crossroads. I was either going to start another novelization project or do something different. Different is good. Different is a challenge. Different is a unique and exciting problem that has to be solved. At the time, I was inspired by a fellow YouTuber who had shot a brief scene he was writing. He shot it simply by playing the two parts in the scene and then cutting it together. It's a no-brainer by today's standards, but in 2012, well, it really sparked something for me. Could a whole movie be shot this way? I certainly couldn't see why not. And yeah, there was also something romantic about finally committing one of those feature-length screenplays to video, this visual representation of words and story I had crafted years prior. The script was called Caffeine, and it was a night in the life of a third shift office crew as they dealt with relationships, phobias, and disgruntled former employees. I shot it in a single room in my condo, entirely by myself. There was never another person behind the camera, and in fact, the only outside help I had was from a dear YouTube friend named Slacktive, who contributed, I would say, probably about 40 minutes of noodling on his 3-string guitar, which ended up becoming the majority of the film's score.
Okay, here's what's gonna happen. I'm gonna step around this corner and piss in the plant. I'm gonna have an eye on the door the whole time. If I see so much as a nose come through it, I'll shoot it off your face. Got it? Okay, here's what we're gonna do, guys. I'll go alongside the door. Cal, I need you to make this
So, while working on a full-time job, production on Caffeine started in the summer of 2012, and then ground to a complete and total halt in October when I went to Vegas to get married. After a major life event interrupts your creative momentum, it can be hard to get back into the swing of things, especially when the swing of things is this metaphorical mountain of a creative project. And I almost didn't get back into the swing of things. The motivation just wasn't there. A creator interrupted stays interrupted. It didn't matter that I was in the home stretch. It didn't matter that if I pulled this off, I was going to finally realize one of my screenplays as an actual feature-length movie. If not for the support and encouragement from my then wife, I probably would have given up on that crazy experiment altogether. And, you know, while the marriage didn't last, there's something poetic about her support contributing to the life of a movie that, well, did last.
On your marks, get set, and go! I tell you, if racing office chairs isn't exciting, I don't know what is.
I finished taping on November 17th, and then finished editing on January 24th, 2013. In the end, Caffeine was a dramatic reading of an original screenplay. It was produced entirely by a single person in one room with zero budget. In the end, after years of writing feature screenplays that were never produced, one was finally produced. And It looks like a movie shot by a YouTuber in his bedroom.
We sell rubber bands? Yes. That's
Ridiculous? Yeah, I know, but they gotta come from somewhere, right? And what, you didn't think they just magically appear in offices around the world by way of some magic rubber band fairy, did you?
Well, I just didn't think
Did the
that,
temp agency tell you anything about this place?
No.
Always happens, don't worry about it. Be happy you actually got here. The last guy the agency sent us got lost and wound up downtown at a gay strip club. Of course, I'm not entirely sure that that was accidental. Come on over here. For me, though, I have always felt that despite its shortcomings, Caffeine is genuinely watchable. It's not the god-awful piece of shit you would expect from some idiot who made a feature film by himself. More importantly, Caffeine is this kind of time capsule from two distinct eras in my life. The first, around 2005-ish, when I originally wrote the script, embodying all the creative ideas that inspired a 20-year-old Crumbine, and the second, in 2012, a feature-length movie embodying all the performance and production style and aesthetics that did it for a nearly 30-year-old Crumbine. It's been another 12 years, and I'm really starting to feel as old as I've always acted. I don't think about Caffeine very often. It's just this thing I did, you know, and frankly, I stay pretty busy chasing after new things. The plot twist, however, is that one of those new things, it's another feature film made entirely by a single person, uniquely experimental, something you have never seen before. Big picture. Will this new film, will it find an audience? Will anyone even care? Having done this before, well, is it even worth the effort? Honestly, no. I probably shouldn't make this new feature film. That's never stopped me before.